talk about a game we didn't really like, either of us.
12,
12 minutes.
Talk about 12 minutes in 12 minutes, I say.
Jesus Christ. Listen, we were both very excited for this game. Like, I recall us both like being hyped at the trailers, like really eager to give this a go. And it was around this time last week, the reviews had come out and there were some really good ones. Like, this is what confuses me most about the game, is that critically it got like really great reviews.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't long after that people on Twitter started being like, wow, this game goes places. And then it quickly switched to the like conversation, at least in the circles I follow on Twitter, was like, why is this game getting such good reviews? It's really bad. Like, and I was like, okay, now I have to check this out.
Get your own. Formulate your own
And I fall
opinion.
into the camp there where I really hate this game.
So let's just be upfront and say that I think at the start of this discussion, we won't have spoilers. We'll obviously just give an overview of the game, how it works. But I think we probably won't talk about this game again. So I do want to talk about spoiler-related stuff.
I feel like I have to talk about the twist, because the 100%. Twist is really the fucking icing on the cake on what the fuck is this.
Yeah.
So 12 minutes is contrary to what the title suggests, is not a 12-minute time loop game.
No,
it's actually
which
more
is
like
so
5
weird.
minutes. Yeah.
No, I think it's a 10-minute loop. It's 8 to 10
is
minutes.
Is it 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not 12 though.
No, it's not 12.
I look at that clock, I'm like, they're large.
Everything happens within 12 minutes, but not 12 real world minutes. Yeah, no. It's weird. So essentially it's a top-down adventure game. I didn't realize it was going to be like classic point-and-click adventure, which is
you literally
part of the problem. Yeah, it's part of the problem I have with it. The puzzles are very old school point-and-click, wherein they are sometimes way too obtuse for their nonsense. Yeah, it doesn't feel smart. It feels mundane and stupid. So yeah, essentially you are this guy in this apartment, and you and your wife are preparing for like a nice dinner. She's got like a surprise for you and stuff like that. And like this dude, very Willem Dafoe voiced dude, busts in. He's like, I'm a cop. He handcuffs you both to the floor and then proceeds to murder both of you, and your day restarts, and the character is well aware of the time loop and is trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And yeah, that's essentially where the game progresses from there. You gather evidence to try and convince your wife that you were in a time loop so that she will like help you try and figure out what's going on, which is a whole thing into itself. You're trying to figure out why this guy is just like breaking in and murdering you both. Stuff like that. So that premise alone sounds awesome.
It's a great setup. I mean, sorry to jump in, but like time loop games in general, you spoke about the Forgotten City like last week already, and that is a thing of there's something very satisfying about solving puzzles using knowledge you've discovered previously. So like on paper, it sounds really cool. Like, why is this cop keep bashing down the door? Like, there's why does he want to murder my wife, and why do I keep dying every time?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just the way it plays out, it's like. So you said you finish a game in what, like 3.5 hours? I think you said. I
looked up 1 or 2 solutions though, because I couldn't deal with it.
Yeah,
anymore.
my playtime was closer to 5.5 hours, which just speaks volumes of how. I mean, it's not a thing of I'm dumb, I can't play this game. It's just a thing of some of the solutions are just so obscure where it could take you a second or it could take you an hour to like, oh God, like this is what I need to do in this loop to, get this piece of information to proceed further into the game. Well, I will say, look, at the beginning when you start the game, like it's very intriguing because, you're trying to figure out what do you do in this apartment. So just for context sake, the game takes place in your apartment, which is literally a living room, a bedroom, and a bathroom. Like it's
a very small,
it's a very
space,
tiny apartment. But there are items littered throughout the apartment, which can or cannot affect how the loop plays out. So, for example, you could walk in and you could, pour your wife a glass of water instead of her getting a glass of water for herself. And then the loop plays out a little bit differently. You could get the surprise out of the fridge for you, or just let her dish it to you herself, which makes the loop play out slightly differently. So when you come in not knowing anything, it's very interesting because you want to try as many variations as you can. It's like, oh, cool. What if I restart the loop and I do this differently? How will it play out? But what you're very quickly
you did the exact same thing as me on your first playthrough. You're
I don't know why.
I gotta try
this. On the first playthrough, I was like, oh, the lights, cool.
I was just watching you do that. I'm like, I did exactly the same thing. That's very funny.
But what I found the biggest frustrations I had, and I think a lot of people had, it's that when you get stuck trying to figure out, okay, I've got enough of like basic knowledge. I know I need to convince my wife I'm in a time loop. I've got to tell her that there's a cop at the door. Oh God, how do I proceed the story? Like, what piece of evidence do I need to, get further? And that in itself is where the game becomes very frustrating, because it's a thing of, okay, I put this plate here last time. What if I do this with it now? Oh shit, it plays out more or less the same. Damn it, I've got to restart the loop because I wasted time. What if I do this differently? Oh, it doesn't really make that big a difference. Now I've got to restart the loop. So it's I think that to me was one of the biggest hurdles. And like you mentioned earlier, a lot of people reviewed this game very well. A lot of people reviewed it very badly. There's no like middle ground. And I honestly think it comes down to, if you just happen to be a veteran old school adventure game fan and you just know these games very well, maybe the solutions came to you way quicker than they came
easily,
to me. Yeah. And in which case, if you play this, in a 2-hour sitting, maybe even shorter if you're like really smart, like, cool, I could understand. Like, I don't really like the twist at the end, but I'd imagine it's a very, an engaging experience because you are constantly figuring stuff out as you go. But if you play it like I did over 5.5 hours, then it's
but even then, like I never felt like I was smart in solving all the problems. It felt like I was just like taking all the items in inventory and just trying them on different things because I had no fucking idea what to do anymore. And on top of that, exactly like you said, like the beginning parts of the game are actually fine because all the things you're discovering are at the beginning of the loop. But then very quickly, it's like, okay, I need to do this every single loop to set this up and then try something. And then once I've set that up, I try something. Oh, it doesn't work. I've got to redo that whole setup again. And it gets really bad at the end because like you are in conversations with all three characters, and one wrong thing that you say, you have to restart.
Like,
it's fucking ridiculous.
It becomes like towards the end, becomes a thing of, so throughout the game, if you talk to your wife, for example, you'll have like 3 different dialogue options. And then within each one, there might be 1 or 2 more. So it becomes a thing of like, I know I need to talk to this person and I need to try convey this information or something. But there's 2 options to choose from. Oh shit, I chose the wrong one. The dude's pissed off with me. He's killed me. I've got to set it up all over again. Like,
And sometimes it doesn't even make sense. It's like sometimes the cop is willing to hear you. So I'm like, cool, that means I can talk to him. I click to talk to him. He's like, no, you spoke to me, I'm gonna hit you. Restart the loop. I'm like, why? What? It doesn't make sense. And there's some instances where like I will preemptively get an item that I know I will need. Like the picture on the fridge, for example. I'm like, cool.
You did exactly what I did. I know
I'm going to need this. Put it into my inventory. Then eventually I get to the point where I know I'm going to need it. And the wife's like, check out the picture on the fridge. And he's like, there's no picture on the fridge. I'm like, I have it here. Here, let me give it to you. I try to give it to him. He's like, don't talk to me. Punches me. Restarts the loop. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I think you and I mean, we spoke back and forth on WhatsApp a lot, which I had a great time of being upset with you. Like, the more we spoke about it, the more we realized like this game is very good at like telling you to be creative, but simultaneously very bad at letting you be creative. So that's a good example. It's like, okay, I know I'm going to need this picture on the fridge. Let me take it off, keep it in my inventory because I want to give it to the guy. But then it's like you said, he looks at the fridge. He's like, oh, there's no picture there. And you're like, but I've got it. Can I click you and tell you that I'm dead? Like, even the whole, I mean, and this isn't a spoiler, but you get to a point where you're like, oh God, I know this cop's coming to knock down the door or whatever. So you can tell your wife, you've got the knowledge, like, listen, there's a cop coming. He's going to accuse you of murder. Do not let him in. Okay. So I'm like, yeah, I know this knowledge. Let's not let him in. Let's like barricade the door, or let's plan to do something. Like, this guy's coming to kill us. Let's maybe knock him out together or something. The game never lets you do that. It says you can tell your wife, like, don't let him in. And she's like, okay. But then she stands at the door when he's banging on it going like,
what should we do?
I'm like, step away. Like, I've told you.
I did this one loop where she was doing that, and so I was just like, fuck this, I'm just gonna go hide. So I went into the bathroom and I locked the door and I went into the shower, and she fucking ratted me out.
Really?
I couldn't believe it. He was like, is there anyone else here? And she's like, yes, my husband's in the bathroom. I was like, what the fuck?
What the shit?
I
did not know you could lock the bathroom door. It's hilarious.
Yeah. He just breaks it down and comes and finds you anyway and just drags you out of there.
But even on that, so I mean, look, I know when you're planning a game like this, I can only imagine not admin nightmare, but the narrative nightmare of trying to think up every possible scenario. But it's some of the stuff to me seems very obvious, but it doesn't. It serves no purpose. Like, there are items in this game which are there. I'm like, did you intentionally put that there for me to just do nothing with?
I think those are like intentional red herrings almost.
Yeah, but it's like you can interact with the loo. I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, in a loop, I'm going to use this knife and I'm going to kill this guy and I'm going to hide the knife in the loo because another cop or neighbor's going to come. And I'm like, this is me overthinking the game. This is early days thinking, this is the extent that the narrative's been thought out. And it's like, no, the loo's literally just there. That serves no purpose other than
the number of things I tried to flush down that thing. And it just did nothing. Like,
it really
tried to flush a
me.
dessert down there. Nothing.
So yeah, it's a very difficult game to recommend.
It's a very frustrating game to play.
It's like, I can appreciate it. Look, to be clear, like, I can appreciate the setup and the narrative. I think it's very clever on paper. Like, this, there's this mystery to solve. It's a very clever way to convey this mystery story of like, how do you figure out why this dude's knocking at your door every day or whatever. But just the actual mundaneness of it, like, really, really kills this game for me. Like,
it's an ambitious setup. Yeah. But so that's just like the gameplay. Now, the story.
Story is quite something. So if you do plan on playing this game and you don't want to know anymore, look away, because I'm pretty sure we're gonna spoil some things.
We'll put the time codes in the description. I'm seeing here it's like 41 minutes, I think, or 40 minutes.
It's 40 minutes, let's say.
Okay, you can keep track of the time code there. The thing that frustrates me the most actually about this game is genuinely the story, because it starts off fairly intriguing and noir, almost like, why is this happening, whatever, and it devolves into some really uncomfortable and really fucking ridiculous tropes. Like, absolutely ridiculous. So you find out fairly quickly that your wife lied about the death of her father and that she killed him, so to speak. And you're like, okay, that's the big twist. Then it's like, no. Actually, she didn't kill him. Someone else did, because he was still alive after this point where she had already moved to the city and met you. You're like, okay, cool. So then the story flips to like this whole, we need to figure out who actually killed the father so that this dude who's coming to exact revenge for the father and also steal a watch to pay for his daughter's chemotherapy or something, I don't fucking know, doesn't like immediately kill you. And then you start figuring out that like her father had an affair and there was another child, and it's probably this other child that killed him. You're like, okay, well, this is now like expanding well beyond like the
Yeah.
confines of this apartment. Like, how the fuck are you meant to
Figure this
do
out.
anything?
Yeah.
The real twist is that, firstly, you are the one who killed her father. You are also her brother, and that,
or half brother, but still,
in a way, is like, okay.
Yeah.
And then it becomes worse in that your character knew this. Well, he was well aware before getting into a relationship with your wife, half sister, that they were related in that way. And the whole reason you killed the father is because he wanted to stop it. And you're just like, excuse
You're
me?
literally deer looking into the headlights going, what?
You're like, what?
How did
and then
I get
somehow,
here?
in between these two instances, you've forgotten this.
Mm.
And then it turns out none of this is real. All of this is in your mind.
Yeah,
a figment of your imagination during a conversation with the father about this whole predicament.
Yeah, so he's like trying to hypnotize you into forgetting that you love your half sister, basically. Which is just, I don't know. Then you start really thinking about what's happening in the apartment. Like, hang on, okay, so this father's coming to treat. Sorry, that video just stopped. So I have another one. The father's coming to murder me, whatever. But also, there's this whole theme of he wants the watch to pay for his daughter's chemotherapy. So now, is this just a metaphor for him trying to save his daughter from me? And you start having all these questions, and the more you think about it, the angrier you get. So this is why Alessandra and I, the more we spoke, we were like, but what about this? This means this. Hang on. Look at this article which dives into this explanation. It's like, oh, it's just a lot. It's too much.
It's a lot because like I get it. It wants to be shock value and it wants to be like, I don't know, just shocking, really. Like that's all it's trying to be, because it's not thought-provoking. It's not like, oh damn, he didn't know that. What a devastating blow for this dude who didn't realize this. It's like, no, he knew. He willingly went and fucked up this woman's life. Well, in his imagination. He then, like, as part of the gameplay, you have to like consistently drug her. You have to watch her get beaten the fuck up so that you can get information. And then you have to have the really terrible conversation of like, hey, I was totally aware that when we hooked up, we were brother and sister, but I still got with you and impregnated you. It's like, what the fuck are you trying to say with this story? What is going on here? It's just like, it's uncomfortable for uncomfortable's sake. There is no point to it. It's pure
shock value. So if the game played out to the point where you know that, you know, there's a murder that happened, the wife's responsible, but you somehow help figure out like, oh, she actually isn't. The real murderer is, I don't know, you figure out someone else, roll credits. You could have ended the game there and I would have been like, oh, okay, cool. Like, very, what a pretty well-rounded game despite its frustrations. But just that twist at the end, because then when you realize that twist and you realize what you've been doing the whole time and how what the premise of the story is, you're like, that is some
up.
weird stuff. Yeah,
And again, it's not fucked up for like a bigger story purpose. The stories don't have to be comfortable all the time. But this just feels like it's uncomfortable for the sake of it, and it's not making you, the player, feel uncomfortable. It's more like you are watching yourself be horrible to another character over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And are you meant to empathize with this man? The game certainly wants you to by the end of it. And I struggled to. I wanted him to die more than anything else.
Yeah.
It's a
wild ride.
It's a trip. It's a real fucking trip, this story. And yeah, like we said, every time we spoke about it, we messaged each other about it. I just got more and more mad. It was just horrible. There's a great Kotaku article which is like the only thing 12 Minutes hates more than its players are it's a female lead. And fucking hates her because it puts her through a ringer for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I accidentally killed her in one of my loops by accident.
Mhm.
I turned on the lamp thing, and then she went in there and turned it on, and she's not
Oh,
wearing shoes,
I did
so
that
she
too,
dies.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that sucks. But let me tell you, the fucking eye roll, my eyes rolled into fucking orbit when I figured out the twist. When the cop says, "Oh, her name was something flowery," and I was like, "Oh my god, the name on the baby clothes is after a flower," and they said it was named after my mother. I
You
just I
know,
took a moment. I
you
was
know
just
what's
like, "Oh
funny is
my
that
god."
so I never made that connection between the baby's name and the, but it did cross my mind, like, what if, even just a fleeting thought of like, what would be a wild twist, like, oh, this dude's actually the brother, but that couldn't be what they're doing. Because I mean, that someone killed the father, oh, it's the brother, and I'm like, huh, how funny would it be if it's the brother? Like if I'm the brother, and then it turns out that is the actual twist. Is like, wow.
I couldn't. I just literally
It's
eye
too
rolls into
much.
orbit.
It's too much.
I paused the game and I just sat there for a second and I had like a chuckle to myself because I was like, "What the fuck is this game?" I literally I walked into the morning after. Shani was like, "How's the game?" And I was like, "It was fucking awful." And she was like, "Why'd you play it?" Because I'm like, I just couldn't pull myself away from how awful it was.
It's funny is that Lenska as well was working next to me while I was playing, and she stopped working because I just started the game. And again, like the premise is interesting because then she was playing as well, going like, "What if you try to do this? What if you try to do that? Whatever." And then like the next day, I eventually finished it, whatever. And she's like, "Oh, did you finish a game?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." And she's like, "What happened?" And I literally just shook my head. I was like, "You don't want to know." Like it's just.
Did you explain the story to her?
No, I never got around to. I will though. I'll
Oh.
tell him like, "Oh, actually."
I explained it to Shani and she was just like, "What the fuck?" Like,
I hate it so much. But yeah, it's again interesting premise, but the twist and it's just.
I didn't realize you could do this. The wife like ran into the bathroom and locked herself in there.
Explain this to me. You have the option to like cut yourself free, but you can never do anything when you get up.
No, because as
Ever.
soon as he sees you doing it, he just punches you.
Like, I didn't get my cups off. But I thought, well, the fact that he got into the bathroom, like maybe I can do something now. I was wrong. Dead.
Oh god, it's nonsense. I had such high hopes for this game, and
likewise.
I did not enjoy it. I think it's the first like big miss from Annapurna in terms of a publishing label.
I will say it definitely got people talking.
It did.
That's maybe what they wanted, but I'm like, what are we talking about other than incest and a whole lot of other weird things? Yeah, cool.
12 minutes. It's a time.
It's a time loop.